Well, Jamal Green, he's a community activist who first made headlines as a leader in the Black Lives Matter movement. Now he's got hopes of becoming the next mayor of Chicago. He joins us now to chat about his platform. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so happy that you're here because I've seen a lot in the news headlines. This is
you.
your first time at the Jam, so it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's dive
it.
right in here because we got some important topics to get to.
Let's do it.
One of the main the big elephant in the room, everyone talks about it, so let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
You're 22 years old and you're running for mayor.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like you're qualified?
So, I've been in the community. I've been in the community for several years, representing families, talking about anti-violence, going into schools, talking about how we can reduce violence in the city of Chicago. Do I have the experience like other politicians like Mayoral? Maybe not. But those politicians have not made the best interest for city residents. So yes, I'm 22 years old, but every movement in this country from the beginning of time, since they founded this country, was started by young people. And I'm getting out there to say we have to unify so that we can make a better future for the next generation. The old style of politics is done. I've been in the community. I understand these problems. I've seen people being shot in front of me. I've housed homeless people. It's my grandmother's wishes. I've been a part of all these different issues that the communities are facing, and that's why it will be prioritized under my administration.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Chicago violence that you just mentioned, that you've seen firsthand in your community. You're from, you said the Inglewood, Auburn, Gresham area?
Inglewood and Auburn, Gresham, yes.
Okay, went to Wendell Phillips High School on the south side. Tell me, how do you think that experience will help you solve the issue of violence in Chicago?
So the problem is we got a lot of politicians who like to talk about our problems, but not a lot of politicians who actually went through them, so they don't prioritize them. Being from these neighborhoods, seeing people being shot, I have a passion to change these communities. I'm running for mayor because I feel like there's not a voice for those who don't have one, who are in these communities that need jobs, right? Who are in these communities that are going to bad schools or going into rival territories because they shut their school down, who have a mental health problem, but there's no mental health facility because this administration shut all of them down in the urban communities, right? All of these different problems are I'm really passionate about because I've went through them and I've seen them. And so that's why it's important for me to get in, because I will prioritize issues that are important to all communities and make this not just a tale of two cities, but we need to be one city for once and for all.
Okay, let's see if we can get to some specifics. You've been very critical of Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Is there a specific issue or something specific that you would do differently than he is?
A lot of things. I would think I can go down a full list.
Let's talk about violence.
So let's talk about, when you talk about violence, right, and I just spoke about it being the tale of two cities. When you have economic development in only one part of town, a lot of the city suffers, right? I got friends here that from London, right, that came in yesterday, and they said, yeah, we're in downtown. I said, let me take you around the real Chicago. We need economic development in all communities, South Side and the West Side, and actually attract corporations, grocery stores, Amazons, economic engines in these communities so that we can create jobs. We need to empower small businesses in these communities and make sure they have access to capital, right? So when you're talking about the problem is we keep on prioritizing our wealthy friends and people who want to give money to the campaign when we're not prioritizing the best needs of everyday people in these neighborhoods, and that's a problem for me. So economic development in these communities to create jobs, and have, when these corporations come into these communities, have a percentage of the people, make sure they have a percentage of people that they're hiring from those communities, and those people in the communities should have something they call like ESOP, in which they'll be able to own a share in that company that comes into their community.
Okay.
So actually trying to build the communities up, build the economics, the economic structure of communities, but then we got to start talking about how to invest in schools. We got to talk about how to invest in mental health facilities. We got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot to do. Let's talk schools. You brought it up. We know a number of the city schools have been closing on the city's west side as well as the south side.
Yes.
And they are attributing that to the population decline here in the city. Obviously, if there aren't enough people living in the neighborhood, the tax dollars aren't there to keep the schools open.
Right.
How do you think you can fix that?
So the problem is we have not done our job when it comes to the public school system, right? We have not given it the leadership that it deserves. We have schools where the kids are in classrooms, 40 kids a classroom who don't learn the same, right? We're failing them. All right, we have schools without clinical staff members. So all of these kids that are in these schools that have mental health problems, they're not getting dealt with if they come outside of that household.
So these are complex issues, and I think the community knows that. But like, how can we fix that, or how can we change that that economic division that's there?
We have to prioritize our budget to make sure it fit those needs.
Okay.
We need to increase staff sizes in these schools. We need to reduce the number of kids in these classrooms. We need to make sure we have clinical staff members in these schools. These are priorities when you're talking about our budget, right? We need to make sure we have after-school programs. When you're talking about violence, we can have a longer school day, but we don't even have the resources to fill that gap. Okay, kids need after-school programs that will reduce violence in the city of Chicago. We're going to invest in that. So we're prioritizing so many other things. Take that money and prioritize the things that matter most.
Okay. Well, Jamal Green, we've been following your story for several years since you stepped on the scene as a young activist. We'll continue to follow that, as well as your candidacy for mayor and your run for mayor. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know we could be here talking all day.
Forever, but they can go to greenforchicago.com. It's greenforchicago.com and read about the platform and donate and come volunteer. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to do. We got to work together for it.
You got it right.